Okay, I'm making a video for Claire. I have this photo. She needs to fix this. This is a towel rack right there. This is what happened. Came out of the wall. Looks like it might have been repaired a few times. I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to go through the options right now of what you can do to repair it. Option one is if you know anything about stuff or not, like building, I can tell you right now that you have a 2x4 here. And you have a 2x4 here, and then you say, how do I know? Well, there has to be a 2x4 here because there's a door frame. So about 5/8 inch, there might be some shims, but there's a door frame and a 2x4. The next 2x4 here is going to be where this box is. This box has to connect to this 2x4. So there's a 2x4 here. What you could do is you could take this rail, you could cut the rail, you could reinstall it right here, and you will be drilling into, with the 2 screws, you'll be drilling right into a 2x4, so it's not coming down again. That's going to be good. I don't know what that's drilled into. I can't tell from here. But that's going to be drilled into a 2x4. Then you can patch this. Okay? You're going to need certain tools that we're going to go over in a minute to be able to repair this. You need 3 things. You need a oscillating tool. You don't need to have a drywall blade. Any bimetal blade will do it. You need some adhesive will come in handy. And you need a wall patch. And I'll show you a picture of those in a minute. And then we'll continue. Okay, right here we have an oscillating tool. When you use this tool, you have to use one of your hands. Has to be attached to a vacuum hose, so you're going to make a mess. So you vacuum along as you cut. You don't need a drywall blade, as I said. You could use any bimetal blade. They last about 1 use if you cut metal with them, and then it becomes a good drywall blade, and they're way overpriced. So vacuum, oscillating tool. Okay, next thing is you need to have a patch. Here's a patch. It has adhesive on its back. You peel it off and you could use it. I peel it off and put extra adhesive. I'll show you that in a minute and how I do it. Okay, so here's some adhesive. Hopefully this will load up. There you go. So Super 77 by 3M or anything like it. You would do this outdoors because it smells really strong. You would take your patch outside, take the paper off the back of the patch, spray the back of the patch, and you let it dry until you could tack it. And when you tack it, if the glue doesn't come off, then it's ready for use. If the glue's wet, it is not ready for use yet. So that's the type of stuff you use. Okay, now we're going to talk about fixing this hole. So you decided you're going to go here. You're going to go here. This is real strong because it's in the 2x4, right? But you do have to fix this hole. So there's 2 ways. You could do reinforced and non-reinforced. A non-reinforced would be you take that wall patch, you go outside, you spray it with some adhesive. So you just spray it on the adhesive. Okay, spray it. You wait a little while, like 5 minutes, and you see if the glue comes off in the middle here. If it comes off onto your finger, it's not ready. If it doesn't come off, this is ready. So now you take that patch. Well, before you take the patch, you want to just scrape this flat to make sure it's all flat. Okay, so you scrape it with a scraper inward this way, this way, this way, this way. Now it's nice and flat. When I say flat, I mean the edges over here. They could have all stuff on them from whenever that was. It looks, I can't tell anything, but if it's not flat, make it flat. There could be paint, there could be anything. So make it flat, then take your patch that you just prepared with the glue, put it on, and you know, when you put it on, just rub over it, and it's gonna stick. And it's not coming off, so make sure it's where you want it. So to make sure it's where you want it, you want to make a few, you make some marks like that with a pencil lightly, very lightly, so you don't make a mark in the wall. And then you'll know you're centering it where you need it. Patch is on. This is an unreinforced patch. The problem with it is that if you hit into that area and you bend that metal that's sitting there with nothing on behind it, it will crack, it will move, and you will have trouble. So that's an unreinforced repair. Now we're going to talk about a reinforced repair. So here's a reinforced repair. So let's say we said it was 4x4 the hole, right? We need a 4x4 piece of drywall. Well, you could go cut a 4x4 piece of drywall, and you just do this by scoring it. You don't, you score a 4x4 piece of drywall. That's pretty basic stuff about cutting it, but you don't use an oscillating tool to cut that. Now what you need to do over here is you need to take this thing, this piece, put it here, trace it with a pencil, mark it with a mark. See, I have a mark, so I know where it's going. It's like keyed there. I know that goes there, okay? So this is for a reinforced repair. So we're going to take away whatever's there that's broken and could be weak, and we're going to put something on the patch that's strong. So we just took this over here. We cut the hole out to the size we need, and we know it's always going to fit because, you know, that's the thing. So that's the patch we made. So if this is the line you traced, you just cut a little bit on the outside of the line, a tiny bit, like a 1/16 of an inch outside the line, and it's going to fit right in. So now we go back out, have that patch. We're going to take that patch. We're going to spray this with the adhesive, check it again. Then we're going to take that piece of, well, let's hold this patch this way. We're holding it. Here's the edge we know we have. Then on the back, this is going to be the part of the patch that's on facing us. And it goes here like this. We're just going to stick it right on that patch we have, that wallboard patch, right on there. Then we're going to take it, after we stick it on, we're going to put either some liquid nails on these edges here, liquid nails here, 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 and here, or some joint compound. So let's make believe this is a 1/2 inch piece of drywall. So this is the inside of the room, and we're going to put the patch in that way. We want to put some stuff. It could be liquid nails, it could be joint compound, but we want to put it on this edge. So when we push in this way, it goes in. If we put it right here, it's not doing anything. It's got to be right here. And then we're going to put that piece of drywall that we have, I'm sorry, we have it on the patch already, and now we're going to take the patch after we put the adhesive, and we're just going to put the patch on. So now we have the patch placed on. So the patch is metal, and we're just going to rub on it like that. And once we do that, it's going to stick like crazy. So again, you might want to make some marks on your wall, so you know that you're putting it where you need it. Well, in this case, we have the drywall. So I'm sorry, you just started with the drywall. And when you start it with the drywall, it's going to go right in. Then you're going to rub on it, and it's all done. So now we repair the hole, both unreinforced and reinforced, using the drywall to make that strong. And we have repaired the towel rack by attaching it to the 2x4 that's going to be right on the side of this box here. All right. So in the next video, we will talk about putting this back right where it was. We're going to say, hey, how do you do that and not have everything fall apart? So we're going to go over that in a minute. Okay, so now we're doing a different video, and we're going to say, okay, we are not going to be shortening this towel rack. This towel rack is going right back here. Well, guess what? It's not going back there like that. That's not happening. So we have to do something to do that. We're going to discuss it for a minute, and then we're going to show you exactly what you have to do. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go back to, we're going to have a piece of drywall, just like before, right? So there's going to have to be a piece of drywall placed here to fix around this mess, all right? You probably could get away without doing that, but it's not worth it because I can't tell how big the hole is. But it's like you might be covering it with this or might not. But in either case, we're going to put a piece of wood in here. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you how we do that in a minute. So you put a piece of wood back there. You use liquid nails. You could use hot glue. And I'll show you exactly how you do it in a minute. But for now, we want to know that if we were going to put this back and not reinforce the wall here with something, we're probably going to have the same problem we had. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So the way you do that is let's suppose your hole is like this, okay? You want to try and make, for something like this, you try and make a horizontal type of hole, a little more horizontal than square. And you're going to put, I'm going to be putting a 1.5 inch piece of wood in the wall, which I'm going to actually do. Well, I'm not actually doing it. I'm going to do it fake. But I'm going to show you, and it's going to be the same thing. And this is how I do it. So you're going to have a process that's pretty easy to do. The only thing in this case we have an electric box here, and we just want to be careful when we're doing this. Before we use any oscillating tool here, we want to make sure that we are not, there's a beam here, so we're not going to be near it. So you'll know if you're cutting in a beam with an oscillating tool. But again, you're always going to use a vacuum. But the thing is that these electric wires, they're probably Romex, and that's plastic, and they have to go here. So the code says, hey, your electric wire 6 inches from the box has to be attached here, right? So you can't count on that. They could be attached here. They could be not attached. We don't know. So what you want to do is before you go and cut anything, when you have to cut something here with an oscillating tool, you want to look in here. And you want to see if there's any yellow Romex or any other Romex or anything you could cut into inside this wall. And the easiest way to do it is you could just push this in a little or something. It's not going to stay there. And then you'll have a hole where you could kind of look in there and figure out what's going on. But you don't want to cut any type of electrical wiring, of course, because that's bad, right? All right. So in the next part, we are going to do we're just going to take this off for a minute. Okay, so we're going to end up with a nice looking wall. We're going to go over how you fix these edges. We're assuming that we can't, you know, that, hey, I mean, this looks like damage here. So we're just like, okay, and if you put this on an unsteady surface, it's not going to stay. So you have to do something. So the something you're going to do is, again, we're going to go over the repair. It's going to be the same process of keying in. Let me just take some of this off. Of knowing where you're going to put your repair. So we're going to have the same thing. You're going to have a piece of drywall that you cut to a certain size. You're going to put the piece of drywall here. You're going to trace it. You're going to cut the space here so that this piece of drywall fits here. But we're going to go over a step in a minute that lets you put something behind it easily so you can reinforce it. And then after you reinforce it, you're going to be able to screw into that piece of drywall and wood. So now you're back into a piece of wood. It's not a full piece of wood, but it's a piece of... So I just did this whole video, and that's why there's writing all over here, but I forgot to turn on the video. So I don't make videos. Okay, so what is this? This is the piece of wood. This is the patch for the wall. Notice the patch fits because we made a mark. It ain't fitting this way. So if you want it to fit, you just make a mark or figure it out by turning it around 4 times or 3 times or whatever. This is the piece of wood. So I would take this piece of wood, I'd put it on here. This is 1.5 by 3/4, okay? So 1.5 by 3/4 or 1 by 2. And we would mark it here so we know the top and bottom, right? And we make a mark here so we know where it's going to go, because this has to be where we're going to be screwing into it later. So that's something we're going to figure out. So before we put this in, we need to know, and we're going to go over it right now, we need to know where this thing is going to be. So we would measure the distance over, say here, and we measure the height, say here, and here, and then later we get to just go like this. See? Oh, we gotta go like that. Later we just get to draw lines with a ruler or something, and that tells us the exact center of where our towel rack is going, and these are the 2 screws for the towel rack, okay? So now let's put our piece of wood in. One thing you'll notice is there is a rope, because when we put our wood in, if we don't have a rope and we let go of it before we want to let go of it, then it goes in the wall and we never get it back, and we have to do it all over, and I've done it. So we have 2 things we're going to use, which you could see I've used already, but I didn't mean to, so I'm not getting a new piece of wood. So we need to use some liquid nails on here, okay? Liquid nails, liquid nails. Then we got to get our hot glue gun. This is what holds it in place while we're doing things. Hot glue here, big glob here. Then we would have our wall, obviously on the wall, not here. And you would hold it up, you'd put it in, you'd move it down, and after you got it where you need it, you're going to go like that. And in this particular wall, notice we have matching here for this, here. And we have our lines we put to make sure we didn't go, because we can't see here. We don't know what we did. But after you put it in, you want to make sure it's tight in case you let go of it. You can put it on a belt loop. You're going to pull it towards the outside here so that this hot glue could dry. So you got to hold it for like 20 seconds. And then after the 20 seconds, if you make sure you look at it, it's not moving, you can let go of it. The hot glue will cool down. It's going to be pretty strong. What are you going to do next? You're going to take out drywall screw. You're going to put one right here. You're going to put one right here. When you put the drywall screws, you need to hold this. If you don't hold it, you could pop that right off. So you hold this, put a drywall screw, hold it, put a drywall screw. So you got one here, one here. So I would have my drill. I would be holding this. You know, the screw is on the drill, obviously, and you go like that. Just hit it on there and drill it in until it's flush. And drill in the one down here until it's flush. And now you have a reinforced holder for your towel rack. Then you're going to take that liquid nails, right? You're going to put the liquid nails here and here, and you're going to put in your patch. So you have a nice wall. The rope, of course, you're going to cut off. Don't leave it like this. People will be like, what the heck is that? Don't do that. So the rope's going to be cut off. Okay, now you got this all set up. Now you take it and you would make a straight line from these 2 guides. Straight line here, straight line here. Hey, that's where it goes. Screw here, screw here. It's going to go in later to hold the towel rack. So for now, you had liquid nails there, it's held in, but you need to put a drywall screw here. You need to put a drywall screw. So you go about 3/4 of an inch up, 3/4 of an inch down, put a drywall screw. So 3/4 of an inch to an inch is where you want to be. If you go right near the edge, it's not gonna work. You don't want to be near the edge. So when you're doing this, this is about the minimum distance I would put a screw. If I just don't put a screw here, there's no wood there. If I had to put it. The other thing I left out is when you're doing this, before you glue it on, I should have told you this, but I didn't. You want to put some, something along here to hold this in. So you can put some liquid nails on the outer edge. This is the inside wall, outer edge here. Put some liquid nails so when you push it in, it goes in. If you put it here, it's not going to do anything. You want it up here. So liquid nails is really good. You could use drywall compound. You put some here, 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 and here. I would use liquid nails because you already have it. Because liquid nails is real important to make this strong. So use the liquid nails right along this edge right here. Okay? Then you're going to place this back on here. And we go back to what we were talking about. We put our 2 screws. So you need a screw here, about 3/4 of an inch in. A screw here. I didn't draw it right. About 3/4 of an inch in. 2 screws. You're going to be repairing this anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right? Now, we're going to take out the piece of wood because my wall is really unsteady. Now I got a steady wall. We need 4 pieces like this. 2 of them have to be longer than the other 2. So this would be the shorter one. And you'll see it goes from here to here. But you also need a longer one to get past the edge. So we need the other 2 to be about here and here. Okay? Now, how do you put this on? It's real simple. First, we remove this. So you need 4. You need 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. This is how you do it. How do you do it and not have any bumps? Well, the reason we, the other option is you don't need it, though, here. You're just going to repair it. That wall patch could be, technically, you could cover this with a wall patch, but I wouldn't bother because you also have to screw through it, and you would dimple the wall patch, and that could be a real bad thing. So you're just going to patch it with some, joint compound tape, paper. Don't use the stuff with the holes and the fiberglass. No, paper. So you put some stuff. You just get some out of the bucket. Pick some up here. I got some here. I just go like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just some, right? Some. Put this back here. It's gonna stick there now. It's stuck there. This is the important part when you're doing this, when you're taping and stuff. You got to hold that there. It's going to move because it's only like 5 inches long. So you're holding it there. You're taking everything, a lot of force, everything out. You don't leave any. You take whatever you could take out. That's how it works. That's what you have to do. Now that's flat. Now I go back here and I do the same thing. When you're doing taping, you take everything out. If you leave anything in there, you're going to have a mess. So you squoze it all out and you do it here. You do one here, here, and here. Now you're done with that. Now you would use a longer blade and you would just go from an angle. You could just go, you got to make it thin. So you just go across it and across it. And it's got to be real thin and flat. It doesn't have to be perfect. They just have to be flat. You fill it in later. You make a flat plane, it fills in later. So you go across with like a, say, 6 or 8. This is 4. Maybe a 6 or 8 inch blade. So 8 would be good. I could do one movement. You pick up stuff. You go like this. If it ain't flat enough, do it again. You need to go down to it's like really thin, and if you can't do that, then just take it all off. It's gonna eventually, not all, but you gotta be really thin. You just keep going until it's really thin, okay? If there's any blobs anywhere, you just take them off. You let it dry. You go back this way. And if you do what I'm saying with really thin means almost all of it's coming off. So I might be putting this much, the paper thickness, in an area that has nothing wrong with it. And it might be thicker in an area that has something wrong with it. But important is you put the tape on and you do all 4. It has to completely dry before you go to the next step, which we're talking about. This has to be all dry. Dry means it turned white again. When you put it on, it's gray. And then again, you would do this. That you could do 2 steps like that and let it dry. Everything should be about this thick where there's nothing wrong. That's the paper. It's really, really thin. You don't want anything thicker there. If you go any thicker, you're going to have a bulge in your wall. So that's all dry now. Now we come back, and you have to feather it into your wall. You have to do like from that edge where you're finished, you have to feather it into your wall. You definitely have to go out a distance, and I would say it's going to be, close to like at least 8 inches on each side. But if you don't put it on thick, it's never going to show up. If you put it on thick, you're going to have a bulge in your wall. Okay, all dry now. Sanding should be very minimal. If you do sand, of course, you use a vacuum. It should be very, very fine sandpaper, and you shouldn't be sanding a lot. It should be real easy. So let's make believe we have to sand this a little. If I'm doing more than that, something's wrong. Okay? That was it. The purpose of sanding was just to take any minuscule little edges off. And you might want to go sometimes in a circular motion near the edge. What you don't want to do is you don't want to sit there and sand drywall. If you sand drywall, the paper comes apart. So don't make a mess. Don't do that. Okay, this is all done. Now the simple part of the repair is now we have a reinforced wall with a piece of wood in it. I think it was from here. Yeah, from here to here, there's wood. This makes this really strong, and now we know where we got to put our piece, the round piece, to put back the towel rack, because we figured it out. So, you know, there's a base, and you would put the base in, and these screws are going to go right through the wood, so you don't use anything, just the screw. You could pre-drill it gently. So you pre-drill it, and the drill size has to be, you know, appropriate for the, you could look it up, what size drill bit to use to pre-drill a screw. If it was a size 8 screw, you would look it up, it would tell you on the internet. And then you'll have the proper hole here, if you went to the proper site, unfortunately. But anyway, so now you put this in, and then you would, you know, just install the towel rack, and you put the piece on, and you gotta, you know, and after you put the piece on, there's gonna be a hex bolt here at the bottom, and you just tighten and loosen that to put it on and take it off. And that is the, I guess the repaired, yeah, completely repaired mess in the wall for Claire. No, it wasn't Claire. It was Kate. Yeah, Kate. It was Kate's wall. Sorry. All right, so all done. Now, again, the easy way is to uncover the, unless you need it. If you need that much space for the towels, that's what you need. But if you don't need that, the easier repair was to go over to the side of the electric box and do that. All right. If you have any questions, of course, just make a comment, and I'll let you know what you need to do. Okay.